world is always changing, the seasons, the city streets, the people you love, and even the way your own heart beats from day to day. But what if peace isn't found in holding things still? What if it's found in learning to let them go? This is not a story about escaping change. It's a story about softening into it, about breathing through it, about discovering that impermanence isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. Welcome to Embracing Impermanence, a journey inward through the shifting tides of modern life, where letting go becomes the most powerful act of all. Everything changes the reality we resist. You wake up one morning and something feels off. Maybe the air smells different. Maybe the light through the window hits the wall at a slightly unfamiliar angle. Maybe someone you love is a little more distant. Maybe your face in the mirror looks more tired than it did yesterday. You can't name it at first, but something is shifting. And whether you want to face it or not, you know it deep down. Something is changing. It always is. We live in a world that is constantly in motion, yet most of us are terrified of change. We cling to the illusion that things will stay the same, that people will always love us the way they do now, that our health will always hold, that our jobs will remain secure, that our bodies will behave, that the city won't grow too fast, that the people we care about won't leave. And when life inevitably proves us wrong, we call it unfair. But what if the unfairness isn't in the change? What if it's in our refusal to accept that change is life? Buddhism teaches that all conditioned things are impermanent. This truth, Anicca, is one of the most profound and most liberating insights the Buddha offered. Everything that arises passes away. Everything we hold will one day be let go. Everything we love will one day transform. But we don't want that to be true. And so we resist. We resist when relationships shift. We resist when our plans fall apart. We resist when our roles no longer fit. We resist when our youth fades, when our parents age, when our careers plateau. We resist the natural rhythms of life because we have been taught to believe that happiness lies in control, in maintaining, preserving, perfecting. But what if true happiness lies not in control, but in surrender? Not in clinging, but in flowing? Not in making life conform to our expectations, but in learning to ride the waves of change with an open heart? In the middle of a bustling city, change is impossible to ignore. New buildings go up where old ones once stood. Your favorite cafe closes without warning. Friends move away. People you once saw every day become strangers. The skyline you used to recognize starts to look unfamiliar. Even the faces on the subway shift, yesterday's crowd replaced by today's silence. It's all a mirror, showing us again and again, nothing lasts. And yet, we keep trying to hold on. We keep trying to freeze moments. We take photos, post them online, hoping to preserve the joy. We replay memories in our heads, wishing we could go back. We fantasize about futures that may never come. All of it is an attempt to escape the discomfort of impermanence. But what if we stopped resisting? What if we leaned into it instead? What if we sat with the truth that everything changes and allowed that truth to soften us? When you lose someone you love, people often say, time will heal, but what really happens is that time reveals. It reveals that nothing can ever be the same, and it's in accepting that truth that healing begins. You start to see the beauty in what was, without needing it to still be here. You begin to cherish what remains, without demanding that it last forever. There's a kind of grace that comes when we stop fighting change. We become more present. We listen more deeply. We speak with more care. We stop assuming there will always be another chance. Because we know now there might not be. That awareness changes everything. Impermanence is not just about loss. It's also about possibility. If everything changes, then pain is not permanent. If everything changes, then sadness can soften. If everything changes, then even the hardest seasons will eventually pass. This isn't optimism. It's truth. And it's powerful. Imagine standing in the middle of your life, not trying to fix it or freeze it, but simply breathing with it, watching it shift, watching yourself shift, noticing the thoughts, the sensations, the fears, letting them arise, letting them fall away. That is freedom. That is presence. That is the beginning of awakening. In a city that never sleeps, where the noise never stops, where change feels like a constant wave crashing over you, it is tempting to armor up, to become numb, to shut down your heart. But the practice is not to harden. It is to open, to say yes to the impermanence, to meet each moment with the tenderness it deserves. Because this moment, like all moments, is already slipping through your fingers. And your job is not to catch it. Your job is to feel it fully, then let it go. Losing, letting go, and learning to begin again. Loss doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait until we're ready. It enters silently or crashes loudly, and it changes everything. One day, you have something or someone, and the next, you don't. The chair at the table is empty. The routine is broken. The future you imagined is no longer possible. And in that moment, everything feels unfamiliar. You reach for what used to be there, but there is only absence. You want to go back, but time moves forward without hesitation. You want to pretend it's temporary, but something deep inside knows it's not. Loss comes in many forms. The death of a loved one, the end of a relationship, the closing of a chapter, the dream that didn't come true, the version of yourself that no longer fits. We think of grief as something that visits only in the aftermath of death, but grief is simply the heart learning to live without something it once clung to. And in that way, grief is a companion to all change. In the city, we learn to hide our grief. We bury it beneath work, beneath noise, beneath forward motion. We pretend we're fine. We put on the mask and move through the crowd. But inside, something is unraveling. Something is trying to say, you've lost something that mattered. Slow down. Feel it. The world doesn't often give us permission to mourn the subtle losses, the slow drifting apart of a friendship, the fading of a passion, the realization that you're not who you used to be. But every loss deserves space. Every ending deserves breath. Buddhism doesn't ask us to bypass grief. It invites us to see it clearly, to hold it gently, to understand that even this ache is impermanent. Even this sorrow will shift. Even this emptiness is alive. The truth of Anicca, impermanence, is not only that things end, but that they begin again. That after every loss, something new eventually arrives. Not to replace what was lost, but to remind us that life continues, that we continue. A woman once lost her job of 20 years. It was her identity, her stability, her pride. She cried for weeks, unsure who she was without it. But in the silence that followed, something emerged. A long-forgotten love of writing. She began again, not because the loss didn't matter, but because she let it open her. A man lost his partner to illness. For months, he wandered the city streets at night, haunted by memories. But then, one evening, sitting alone at a park bench, he heard laughter from a nearby child. And in that sound, something softened. He didn't stop missing, but he began to breathe again. Loss will break your heart open. Let it. Let it teach you how deep your love ran. Let it show you how much you cared. Let it be the doorway, not into despair, but into deeper living. We try to rush through grief because it's uncomfortable. We want to skip to healing, but healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means integrating. It means carrying the memory without being crushed by it. It means allowing sadness to sit beside joy at the same table. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't love enough. It means you love yourself enough to move forward. And beginning again doesn't mean erasing the past. It means honoring it and then turning toward the light. In the heart of the city, where change is constant and people come and go, impermanence is not just a philosophical truth, it's a lived experience. The friends you shared midnight walks with may now be continents away. The apartment that once held your laughter may now echo with someone else's life. The version of you who once dreamed big may have quietly stepped aside. And still you are here, still breathing, still capable of newness. The gift of impermanence is not that things end, but that life never stops offering you new ways to begin. Every sunrise is a quiet invitation. Every breath is a chance to let go. Every moment is a doorway. And sometimes what you find on the other side is not less, it's more. More clarity, more tenderness, more wisdom. The Buddha never promised that loss wouldn't hurt, but he did promise that clinging would only make it worse. And he offered a way through: presence, awareness, letting go, not to escape, but to become free, to feel everything, to grieve honestly, to love courageously, and to begin again, not as the person you were, but as the person you are becoming. This is the path. This is the practice. This is the heart of urban Buddha, not retreating from the chaos of life, but awakening within it, right here, right now. Impermanence in the city when life moves too fast. City life has a rhythm, all its own, fast, loud, unpredictable. You step outside and the street is already alive, honking, buzzing, shifting. People walk with purpose, earbuds in, eyes forward. Buses glide past. Trains rumble beneath your feet. Advertisements blink and disappear before your brain has time to register them. There's no pause button. And in this rush, everything feels like it's slipping away before you can hold it. You blink and the season has changed. You look up and the skyline is different. Your favorite corner cafe is gone, replaced by something newer, shinier, colder. The neighbor you used to chat with on your way home no longer lives there. The colleague you once confided in has moved on. Your own habits shift. What used to comfort you now feels heavy. The clothes in your closet don't fit the person you're becoming. The goals you chased 5 years ago seem foreign. You try to keep up, to adjust, to stay relevant, but it never stops. There's a hidden grief in urban life that no one talks about. The grief of micro changes. The grief of small goodbyes. The grief of subtle identity shifts that go unacknowledged. We carry these quiet losses like stones in our pockets, too small to mourn, too heavy to forget. And they add up. They wear on our nervous system. They make us feel tired even when we've slept. The Buddha spoke of impermanence not just as a truth to accept, but as a lens through which to see clearly. In the city, everything is impermanence in motion. You don't need to go to a monastery to see Anicca. You only need to stand still for 5 minutes on a city sidewalk. You'll witness the flow of life. A teenager laughing into their phone, a woman wiping tears in a cab, a man rushing with groceries, an elder sitting in the same spot as yesterday, watching time pass. And somewhere in that moment, you realize nothing stays. Nothing. The building being constructed today will one day decay. The fashion everyone copies this season will be mocked next year. Even your own preferences shift. You used to crave noise. Now you long for quiet. You used to rush toward people. Now you seek space. All of this is natural. All of it is impermanence unfolding. But instead of embracing it, we fight it. We try to immortalize everything. We take photos instead of feeling. We record experiences rather than living them. We cling to reputations, to brands, to curated identities, afraid that without them, we'll vanish. But what if vanishing isn't the enemy? What if disappearing is sacred? What if who you were last year isn't meant to survive this year? What if the job, the status, the apartment you outgrew, what if they're not failures, but invitations to let go? We treat impermanence as a threat to our stability. But what if it's the only thing that's ever stable? The only truth you can count on? Because when you know that everything changes, you stop wasting time trying to make things last. You start treasuring them instead. You hold people with more softness. You listen more deeply. You forgive faster. You stop assuming there will be time later. You show up now. Impermanence teaches us urgency, not panic, but presence. The kind of urgency that makes you look someone in the eye and really see them. The kind that makes you put your phone down and actually fill your morning coffee. The kind that makes you walk slower, breathe fuller, love braver. In the speed of the city, we are trained to hurry, to optimize, to chase. But the real practice is not to go faster, it is to go deeper, to walk through impermanence with eyes wide open, to let it break your heart, then keep your heart open anyway. One evening, you'll walk past a building you never really noticed, and you'll realize it's being torn down. You'll feel a strange pang, even though you never stepped inside. That's the heart recognizing impermanence. That's practice. One morning, you'll realize the barista who always smiled at you is gone. You'll wonder where they went, why you never learned their name. That's the ache of fleeting connection. That's practice. You'll sit on a bench and feel the sun on your face and think, I don't know if I'll ever feel this exact feeling again. That's presence. That's freedom. Urban impermanence is not just something to endure. It's something to bow to. It's the teacher that walks beside you on every street. It reminds you that everything you're trying to hold is already slipping through your fingers. And maybe, just maybe, that's okay. Maybe you don't need to grip so tightly. Maybe you can let life pass through you like wind through a tree. Maybe you can stop trying to be unmoving and start learning how to sway. This is the wisdom of the urban Buddha. Not to escape the city, but to wake up inside it. Not to freeze time, but to meet it fully. Not to run from impermanence, but to walk with it, hand in hand, through the noise, the change, the beauty, the heartbreak. All of it, just as it is. Holding lightly how to love without clinging. We are taught to love deeply, but rarely are we taught how to love without clinging. From the moment we experience connection, something in us wants to hold on. We want to define it, protect it, keep it safe. We want promises. We want guarantees. We want to be chosen again and again, forever. And yet, nothing in life works like that. People change. Feelings shift. Circumstances evolve. Even the strongest connections are touched by time. But instead of preparing us for that truth, society romanticizes permanence. We are told that real love lasts forever, that if something ends, it must not have been true. We equate forever with success, and endings with failure. But what if the deepest love isn't measured by how long it lasts, but by how present we are while it does? What if the goal of love is not possession, but presence? Not to freeze a moment in time, but to fully inhabit it, knowing it won't return? In the framework of impermanence, love becomes something else entirely. It becomes fluid, dynamic, alive. It stops being about control and starts being about connection. It stops being about what we can get and starts being about what we can give. Holding someone lightly doesn't mean you love them less. It means you love them more honestly. You stop trying to make them stay. You stop trying to shape them into a version of themselves that makes you comfortable. You stop trying to demand what they cannot give. And instead, you see them as they are. You cherish the moments you have. You say thank you more often. You let your appreciation rise without fear. And when things change, as they inevitably do, you let go without bitterness. You mourn, yes, but you don't collapse, because you never claimed them as yours to begin with. In Buddhism, clinging is identified as one of the root causes of suffering. We cling to pleasure, to identity, to people, to outcomes. And in that grasping, we create tension. We confuse love with attachment, care with control, commitment with ownership. But love and attachment are not the same. Attachment says, I need you to be this way so I can feel okay. Love says, I honor who you are. Even if it changes, attachment resists change. Love accepts it. This doesn't mean we become cold or distant. It means we become spacious. We give room for others to breathe. We allow the relationship to evolve. We hold space for transformation. There's a story of a monk who had a beautiful bowl. Every morning, he drank tea from it with gratitude. But each time he used it, he reminded himself, this bowl is already broken, not out of pessimism, but out of awareness. He knew that someday it would fall or crack. And so, he cherished it now, with open hands. This is the practice. Loving like the bowl is already broken, not as a way to protect yourself from loss, but as a way to fully open your heart while it's still here. In city life, relationships often feel rushed. We meet people, share fragments, drift apart. The pace is relentless, the timing rarely perfect. But even within that chaos, love can thrive if we stop trying to make it conform. If we let go of the fantasy and embrace the reality that people are passing through our lives like clouds. Some stay longer. Some disappear quickly. Some return. Some don't. And all of them teach us something about joy, about grief, about ourselves. Love them anyway, not because they will stay, but because they're here now. In your orbit, in your life, in this moment. Love them without script, without guarantee, without needing to be owed. That is the love of a free heart. That is the love that doesn't break when things end. Because it wasn't built to last forever. It was built to be real. In holding lightly, you actually hold more. You hold more peace, more clarity, more compassion. Because your hands are no longer clenched. Your heart is no longer a cage. And from that space, love becomes what it was always meant to be. Not possession, but presence. Not permanence, but depth. Not forever, but fully. The urban Buddha knows this, that to live among crowds and noise and rapid change is to witness impermanence every day. But it is also to love boldly, with eyes wide open, with hands unclenched, with hearts that do not fear endings. Because when you stop trying to make love last forever, you finally let it reach you. The gift of change reframing uncertainty. We spend so much of our lives trying to predict what's next. We make plans. We set goals. We build timelines. We crave stability, not just because we value structure, but because we believe it protects us. It gives us the illusion that we are in control, that if we prepare enough, if we plan well, we won't be caught off guard. But life does not follow our scripts. It rarely asks for our permission. Just when you think you have it all figured out, something shifts. The job offer falls through. The relationship changes shape. The diagnosis arrives. The dream becomes blurry. And in that moment, when the familiar dissolves and the path ahead becomes foggy, we panic. We call it failure. We call it a crisis. But what if it's something else? What if uncertainty is not a problem to solve, but a truth to embrace? What if it's not a threat, but a teacher? The Buddha never promised certainty. He promised change. He didn't offer a plan. He offered presence. And through presence, a new kind of peace. Because when you stop demanding that life be predictable, you begin to see that its uncertainty is not chaos, it is creativity. It is movement. It is aliveness. In nature, nothing stands still. Rivers don't freeze unless they die. Trees don't resist the wind, they bend with it. And when they don't bend, they break. It is the same with us. When we resist change, we harden. When we cling to certainty, we suffer. But when we soften into what is, when we breathe into the unknown, something opens. Something quiet, but deep. We begin to feel our resilience. We begin to see that the ground doesn't have to be firm for us to walk. We begin to discover that we are not our plans. We are not our outcomes. We are the awareness that moves through all of it. This shift in perspective changes everything. Instead of seeing uncertainty as the absence of safety, we see it as the presence of possibility. Instead of fearing the next chapter, we get curious about what it might reveal. Instead of collapsing when things fall apart, we ask, what is being made new here? There's a woman who lost everything in a fire, her home, her belongings, the things she thought made her who she was. In the beginning, she felt destroyed. But in the ashes, something unexpected emerged. Freedom. With nothing left to cling to, she began again, not as a version of her past, but as someone entirely new. There's a man who moved to the city to chase success. For years, he climbed ladders, hit milestones, collected accolades. Then, suddenly, he was laid off. For a while, he spiraled. But in the quiet, he remembered a part of himself he had buried: music. And now he plays in parks on weekends, happier than he ever was behind a desk. These stories are not rare. They are everywhere. Life pulling us off course so it can show us who we really are. But we miss the lesson when we judge the shift too quickly. When we assume that uncertainty means danger, not depth. The practice is to pause, to breathe, to feel the discomfort without escaping it, to ask gently, what is this moment asking of me? What can I learn here? How can I meet this, not with fear, but with faith, not blind faith, but the kind that says, I don't know what's next, but I trust my capacity to meet it. I trust the flow of things. In a city like this, where change happens faster than we can process it, embracing uncertainty becomes essential. You won't always know who you'll be next year. You won't always know what will survive and what will fade. But you can know this: you will adapt. You will grow. You will surprise yourself. And the more you let go of needing things to stay the same, the more peace you'll find in the movement. The urban Buddha doesn't run from uncertainty. He sits with it. She walks with it. They breathe into it. Because uncertainty is not the absence of ground, it is the discovery that ground was never solid to begin with. And that maybe, just maybe, we were made to float, to dance, to rest in the flow, not because we are lost, but because we are free. Living fully, letting go daily, the practice of urban mindfulness. We don't need to wait for a life-altering event to begin living mindfully. We don't need to lose something precious to remember what matters. We don't need to escape the city, the noise, the pressure, the pace. We only need to wake up right where we are, in the breath, in the body, in this ordinary, fleeting, sacred moment. The truth is, impermanence isn't waiting around the corner. It's already here. Every second is a goodbye to what was. Every inhale is a beginning. Every exhale is a letting go. And this too is practice. Not the kind of practice you do on a cushion in silence, though that matters, but the kind of practice you carry with you into subways, into meetings, into heartbreaks, into joy. The practice of living fully and letting go daily. Mindfulness is not about adding something new. It's about noticing what's already here. The sensation of warm sunlight on your skin. The sound of footsteps passing. The flicker of anxiety before you open an email. The urge to scroll instead of feel. The breath. Always the breath. When you train yourself to notice impermanence, not as an idea, but as a lived experience, something shifts. You stop taking things for granted. You stop rushing through moments that won't come again. You stop waiting for the perfect conditions to feel alive. You feel alive now. You say, I love you now. You rest now. You forgive now. Because you understand that everything is passing, even you. And far from making life sad, that makes it beautiful. That makes it urgent. That makes it worth showing up for. To live fully is not to cram your life with more. It is to show up more completely for what's already here. To drink your coffee without multitasking. To hold someone's hand without distraction. To cry without apology. To laugh without editing the sound. To listen, really listen, without planning your reply. To be here, only here, even for just this breath. And to let go daily means not carrying more than you need. Not dragging yesterday's story into today. Not clinging to roles, to moods, to labels that no longer fit. It means allowing your identity to be porous, your opinions to evolve, your heart to soften again and again. It means noticing the moment your shoulders tense and choosing to release. Not because it's easy, but because it's kind. In the heart of the city, where nothing stays the same, mindfulness becomes both anchor and sail. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you open. It reminds you that you are not your to-do list. You are not the car horn. You are not the past or the future. You are this awareness, breathing. The urban Buddha doesn't walk through life untouched by its pain. The urban Buddha walks through it with eyes wide open, with a soft body, with a courageous heart. They get caught in traffic and still choose kindness. They feel frustration rise and respond with breath. They experience endings and still say thank you. Because mindfulness is not about control, it's about presence. And presence is the only place where life is actually lived. No amount of thinking will save you from impermanence, but attention will help you meet it with grace, with clarity, with compassion. Every morning is an invitation to begin again. Every breath is an opportunity to return. Every moment is a doorway. And the key is simple. Stop trying to hold what cannot be held. Love what is here. Touch what is real. Release what has passed. And trust what comes. This is not philosophy. This is practice. This is how you live fully, not someday, not in theory, but now. Now, as you are. With this mind, with this heart, with this imperfect, beautiful life. The city will continue to change. People will come and go. You will outgrow things you thought you'd always need. And through it all, you'll still be breathing, still capable of presence, still worthy of peace, still walking the mindful path, not outside the world, but within it. Let this be your freedom. Let this be your prayer. To live fully, to let go daily, to awaken again and again in the middle of it all. You don't need to cling to stay connected. You don't need certainty to be at peace. And you don't need to fear change to live fully, because everything changes. And within that truth lies your freedom, your clarity, your stillness. May you walk lightly, love deeply, and let go gently, not someday, but now. Not perfectly, but presently. Not far away, but right here. This is your life. This is your breath. And it is already enough.